Lord of the Rings is in a rough spot. Rings of Power was abysmal, the new Heroes of Middle-earth mobile game has gotten destroyed, and now a new MMO has been announced, but unfortunately it doesn't sound like it'll be a completely accurate take on Tolkien's world because it's by Amazon Games, and they are describing it as a fresh take on the lore that we know and love. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or supporter via YouTube memberships. Now, I love Lord of the Rings, and I love MMOs. I think MMOs are fantastic, and while I would initially be excited for this, first of all, an older Lord of the Rings MMO already exists. It's called Lord of the Rings Online, and people do still really like it. They still update it. They do still put a lot of work and effort into it, and while, yes, it is outdated because it is older, I'd still rather them stick to the original Tolkien story and all of the accurate lore than them do this, than them make a new one and have it be basically Amazon's take on Tolkien, because we've already seen what Amazon and Middle-earth Enterprises have been willing to do. We saw, of course, Rings of Power, and the fact that Amazon got handed this opportunity just sucks, in my opinion, because they also have a very bad track record with video games. I mean, most notably was New World. It was an MMO that came out. It was super hyped up when it released, but unfortunately it fell flat. The economy in the game was completely messed up. It technically didn't run the way people expected, and it just is an MMO that died very quickly. It says, though, Embracer Group, the company that now owns Middle-earth Enterprises and many of the rights to Lord of the Rings, announced a new MMO in partnership with Amazon Games. In a press release, Embracer Group announced that this MMO is in the early stages of production and is being developed by Amazon Games' Orange County studio and will be published for PC and consoles. It says it is an open-world MMO adventure. The upcoming game takes place in Middle-earth, featuring the beloved story of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings literary trilogy. The vice president of Amazon Games commented on the deal, saying, "We're committed to bringing players high-quality games, whether through original IPs or long-beloved ones like the Lord of the Rings." Now, I would love to believe that this is going to turn out well, because it's years away. I want to have hope. I don't instantly like to write things off and say, oh my gosh, it's going to be a failure. It's going to be a disappointment. Nobody is going to like it. But unfortunately, there is just way too much stacked in a pile of trash right now. Again, Amazon Games doesn't have the best reputation, and Amazon in general doesn't have a good reputation when it comes to Lord of the Rings. It says bringing players a fresh take on the Lord of the Rings has been an aspiration for our team, and we're honored and grateful that Middle-earth Enterprises is entrusting us with this iconic world. We're also pleased to be expanding our relationship with Embracer Group following our Tomb Raider deal last year, as they've proven to be excellent collaborators. So we knew that there was going to be a long running line when it came to deals with them, at least with other IPs. A lot of people did question about Lord of the Rings, though, primarily because Rings of Power didn't do what they expected. But yes, it does now look like they are continuing their deal when it comes to the franchise in general, which is very sad for me to hear. And this is what has me the most worried. Bringing players a fresh take on the Lord of the Rings, because we've already seen what Amazon has done in order to create a new fresh take on Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, and it was abysmal. Rings of Power was a terrible show, and I honestly wish that it would just get canceled. I don't want them to keep ruining it. There's no way they could make a season 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 good, and season 1 was just one of the worst pieces of content that I have had to see in a very long time. Plus, just knowing that they took one of my favorite franchises of all time and would disrespect it like that was awful. But This is very worrying because, of course, whenever we hear companies talk about a fresh take on something, usually it means for modern audiences. The world of Middle-earth continues to prove an endlessly fertile ground for creators, and Amazon Games has a passion for building immersive, compelling worlds and publishing games for a global audience. Unfortunately, they cannot really create games that people want, though, global audience or not, because of course they have had failure after failure. If New World had went better, I would feel a little bit more confident because I would know at its core they had a good game and they can create good games, but New World was rough. There was a lot of excitement and a lot of hype around it, and while I did enjoy it to a certain extent, it just was lacking. It says, though, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav announced the new Lord of the Rings films during the company's Q4 2022 earnings call back in February. Yes, we also know that they are expanding even further because we do know that there are going to be new Lord of the Rings films. They are really trying to capitalize on this IP, and I understand why, because it has been extremely successful. People around the world love it, but with so many new movies, video games, you've got Rings of Power, I just feel like there's going to be an oversaturation of this content now, and I personally would prefer there be a gap in the content. Only every few years something new comes out, because I don't want them to ruin it, and I'm so freaking worried like a lot of other people are. But I also recently talked about Lord of the Rings, specifically Heroes of Middle-earth. This is a brand new mobile game that was made by Capital Games and published by Electronic Arts, and it is a major cash grab. It is just a game that no Lord of the Rings fans asked for, and of course they did try to diversify Middle-earth a little bit in it because they decided to create new black characters, which wouldn't be a problem if this was just a new franchise, but it's not. And of course a lot of the other fan favorite characters, like of course Aragorn, Frodo, all of the hobbits are in it, so they do have mostly characters we know, and I'm glad that none of those characters were like race or gender swapped, but at the same time there are still issues here that people have because it's not Tolkien's work. But even the official gameplay and teaser trailers for this got absolutely obliterated. This trailer for it went up about a month ago. It's got 341,000 views, but it's getting ratioed 1.7k likes to 30,000 dislikes. I obviously hope that these companies do not mess up Lord of the Rings. Of course, Amazon already has quite a bit, and while I would be excited for a LOTR MMO, I just can't get excited when a company like Amazon is saying, oh, it's going to be a new, fresh take for global audiences. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.